The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has tragically morphed into a war of attrition. Both sides remain locked in a stalemate with no end in sight. Amidst this backdrop, a controversial proposal has emerged, offering Crimea's NATO membership in exchange for peace. This idea, while contentious, warrants serious consideration. Its implications are far-reaching, potentially impacting the geopolitical landscape for decades to come. Proponents argue that such a move could serve as a face-saving measure for Russia. It would allow Putin to claim a victory, albeit a symbolic one, by securing NATO's recognition of Crimea's status. This, in turn, could pave the way for a negotiated settlement. Opponents, however, view it as a dangerous concession. They argue that it rewards aggression and sets a dangerous precedent for future conflicts. The potential consequences for Crimea itself are equally complex. NATO membership would undoubtedly bolster the peninsula's security. It would also provide economic benefits, attracting foreign investment and boosting trade. However, it could also exacerbate tensions with Russia. Moscow has repeatedly warned against NATO expansion, viewing it as a direct threat to its national security. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to pursue this proposal rests with Ukraine and its Western allies. It is a decision fraught with risk and uncertainty. However, in the desperate search for peace, all options, no matter how controversial, must be carefully considered. Russia's response to this hypothetical scenario is difficult to predict. The Kremlin has consistently maintained that Crimea is an integral part of Russia. It considers its 2014 annexation of the peninsula to be non-negotiable. However, Putin is also a pragmatic leader, acutely aware of the costs of this ongoing conflict. The war in Ukraine has placed a significant strain on the Russian economy. Western sanctions have taken their toll, and the conflict has diverted resources away from other priorities. Moreover, Russia's international standing has been damaged. It has faced widespread condemnation and isolation on the world stage. Against this backdrop, Putin might be tempted to consider a deal that allows him to save face. Accepting Crimea's NATO membership, while unpalatable, could be spun as a strategic victory. He could argue that he has secured Russia's interests in the Black Sea and prevented further NATO expansion. However, such a move would likely face strong opposition from within Russia. Nationalist sentiment runs high, and any perceived concession on Crimea would be met with fierce resistance. Putin would need to carefully weigh the potential benefits against the domestic political risks. The prospect of negotiating Crimea's status with Russia raises a number of concerns. Critics argue that it amounts to appeasement. They fear that it would embolden Putin, encouraging him to believe that he can achieve his objectives through military force. This, they argue, would only increase the likelihood of future conflicts. Furthermore, there is no guarantee that Russia would honor any agreement reached. Moscow has a history of violating international law and breaking its promises. Trust between Russia and the West is at an all-time low. Any negotiations would need to be conducted with extreme caution. However, proponents of engagement argue that dialogue is essential, even with adversaries. They point out that diplomacy is not about rewarding bad behavior. It is about finding ways to manage conflicts and prevent them from escalating into larger wars. In the case of Crimea, negotiations could provide an opportunity to establish clear, red lines and security guarantees for all parties involved. They could also address other issues, such as the status of the Sea of Azov and the rights of Crimean Tatars. Section 4. Kurakhove, a strategic linchpin in the conflict. The town of Kurakhove, located in eastern Ukraine, has emerged as a strategic linchpin in the conflict. Its control is crucial for both sides, as it sits astride key supply lines and transportation routes. Russia's capture of Kurakhove would have significant implications for NATO's calculations regarding Crimea. Firstly, it would strengthen Russia's grip on the Donbas region. This would give Moscow greater leverage in any future negotiations. It could also embolden Putin to escalate his military campaign, potentially targeting other parts of southern Ukraine. Secondly, it would increase the vulnerability of Crimea itself. With Kurakhove under its control, Russia would be in a better position to launch an offensive against the peninsula. This would make NATO's security guarantees to Crimea more difficult and costly to uphold. NATO would need to carefully assess the implications of Kurakhove's fall. It might need to bolster its military presence in the Black Sea region and provide Ukraine with additional military assistance. Failure to do so could embolden Russia and undermine NATO's credibility. Section 5. Peace with integrity. A delicate tightrope walk. The quest for peace in Ukraine must not come at the expense of the country's territorial integrity. Any solution that involves rewarding Russia's aggression would set a dangerous precedent. It would send a message to other would-be aggressors that they can achieve their objectives through military force. NATO faces a delicate balancing act. It must deter further Russian aggression while also remaining open to dialogue and diplomacy. This will require a united front from the alliance, as well as clear and consistent messaging to Moscow. Ultimately, the key to a lasting peace lies in addressing the root causes of the conflict. This includes Russia's security concerns, Ukraine's sovereignty, and the rights of all people living in the region. Finding a solution that satisfies all parties will be a long and arduous process. This is Africa Social Intellect, your premier destination for thought-provoking discussions and insightful perspectives on the vibrant and diverse African community and beyond. Our dedication extends beyond conversations. In recognizing the importance of security, we provide essential information to help safeguard vulnerable nations. From navigating local challenges to assisting these vulnerable nations against imperialistic threats, we stand as a beacon of awareness and resilience. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share our news. If you're watching on Facebook or another platform, follow us and share this reliable news source. We hope you enjoy the news, and thank you for watching, and see you next time.